Hello, NIRSA members. Welcome to another episode of Humans of NIRSA within this NIRSA Know. Really excited to introduce to you three awesome members within our association. And without further ado, I'll allow them to introduce themselves, actually. So, Chris, Heather, Jordan, why don't you kick us off?
Sure, thanks. I'm Chris Dawe. I'm the Director of Recreation at Mount Royal University, and then wear a couple of hats, I guess, within the NIRSA circle, and one of those is the chair of the Canadian Campus Rec Association and the Canadian Leadership Team, and also a member of the Global Perspectives Commission for NIRSA right now.
Hi, everybody. I'm Heather Foster. I'm the Assistant Director of Member Services at Colorado State University. And my role within NIRSA is as the Region 5 Member Network Representative.
And I'm Jordan Bishop, coming from Pullman, Washington, currently a Graduate Assistant for Shared Facilities, and enjoying my time as the Region 6 Student Leader for NIRSA.
Awesome. Thank you all. And I really enjoy the opportunity to be able to work with Heather and Jordan and Chris a little bit over the past few months within the member network and our inner workings there. I just learned actually that Chris had represented the member network as the Region 5 representative in the past, but Chris, this is really my first time getting to meet you, so nice to meet you. But if you could lead us off by telling us a little bit more about the Canadian Leadership Team, kind of how it's evolved over the years and your role within it, that'd be great.
Sorry about the dog in the background there. Yeah, sure. Thanks. So I've been involved with, Campus Rec in Canada for quite some time. Originally the Canadian Intramural and Recreation Association, CIRA, and Canadians have been involved in NIRSA for quite some time as well. The first modern Western Canada Campus Rec Conference was about 2004. And, as things happen, within our industry, it's sitting around after a session and BSing with a bunch of Canadian colleagues. And we formed in 2009 the Western Canada Campus Rec Association, loosely on a napkin kind of thing, and then just really have evolved it from there. In 2013, we submitted an official proposal to NIRSA to create a Canadian region of NIRSA, and at that same time created an Eastern Canada Campus Rec Conference, and continued on from there. Up through this spring, where we partnered with Precor and were able to hire a consultant, actually former NIRSA President Kathleen Hatch from Washington State, and we're able to have her work with us to do a bunch of work around creating this Canadian region of NIRSA, and really looking at what are all the pieces that we need to do to make sure that it becomes Canadianized, that this is a new region that has real meaning and some strong objectives for all the Canadians working in Campus Rec in Canada.
Sure, yeah. And this is a very convenient time for us to be talking with the realignment proposals and processes that are coming into play, as was the Western Canadian Campus Recreation Conference, WCCRC, that all three of you got to go to in the middle of October. So can you, from your perspective, give me a little bit more on what went down at that conference, where it was, and how it went?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're out in Victoria, British Columbia, out on the island, beautiful BC, and had our largest Canadian Campus Rec event so far, with about 157 people in attendance, and approximately 50 of those were students. So it was great to have some folks from all walks of our Campus Rec. We had a number of stakeholders there, including the full NIRSA board. We had obviously Jordan and Heather that were able to join us as well, and lots of NIRSA folks, lots of stakeholders from within post-secondary, some of our athletics and student services and academic colleagues, some from outside of post-secondary, from Parks and Rec, really talking about this entire strategy around Canada in Motion, and working through what that strategy looks like, and working through with the board some what we call tenets of a Canadian region, and those were approved by the board while we were there. And then in addition, of course, the rest of the conference activities, which were fantastic, the educational sessions, the networking, and some fantastic keynotes as well. So those were the great pieces from my perspective. I'd be curious to hear the others.
Yeah, I was enjoying being informed through the outlets of social media. So NIRSA President Stacey Hall, if you're watching, I enjoyed following you on Twitter as you were there, keeping up with everybody else. So Heather, going from Colorado to Canada, tell me about your time, who was there that you enjoyed getting to connect with, and how the conference went for you.
Definitely. So that was my first opportunity to actually go to Canada. So it was wonderful to be a part of the WCCRC and to interact with a lot of Canadian representation from our member base, as well as the member network chair, David Peters. Jordan was there as well, which was great to spend some time with my member network cohort, as well as the board of directors. So Stacey Hall, Bill Crockett, you know, the list goes on. Everybody was pretty much in attendance. NIRSA HQ had a great representation as well. And it was just a wonderful opportunity to learn more about the Canada in Motion piece, as well as the bylaw vote, and have discussions around it. I think for Jordan and I specifically, it was really great to hear from the actual Canadian membership, to see the excitement around the potential of creating a Canadian region, and the excitement of meeting the needs of that region of folks, so that we can better meet their needs in the recreation field. So we spent a lot of time just networking, getting to know people, getting to know the issues, learning what makes Canada unique, which I think is a really awesome piece of some of those tenets of the Canadian region. Jordan, anything else to add?
Was that a head shake? You good? So Heather, tell me, I guess, from the perspective of a NIRSA student, I know if I didn't have the access to be able to read, I may be wondering what exactly are the bylaw proposals, or what does that look like for me as a NIRSA student? I'm trying to understand what the regional realignment is all about. In brief, do you have a little bit of information you could give us for what that means for Canada?
Definitely. So what the bylaw vote is looking to do is to remove kind of the specifics of the regional breakdown. So currently in our bylaws for NIRSA, each of the regions is specifically listed, as well as what are the states and provinces that make up that region. What the bylaw vote is to do is to remove some of those specificities, so that we can make the association more nimble, and to potentially provide Canada with a more kind of positive support structure. So we aren't per se voting on making Canada a region. What we're voting on is just removing a lot of those specifics from the bylaws, so that the association can be more adaptive over time, and potentially, you know, create new regions, or allow other states or provinces to move regions if that's what maybe is best for them. There's a lot of pieces to those movements or the creation of a new region. So it doesn't just happen, you know, on a whim really, really quickly. There's a lot of research that's done, a lot of thought that goes into the proposal piece of it. But I think this bylaw vote, again, will help make the association a little bit more adaptable.
That was beautiful. Thank you. That was explained really well. I couldn't have done that. Thank you. Jordan, talk to me about your time at the conference. And first of all, shout out to you for you were already planning your Region 6 Student Lead On Conference and going to that conference in Riverside. But you went to the Western Canadian too. And so shout out to your time management abilities for being able to do that. But tell me about the conference from your perspective of how that went.
Yeah, so definitely, first of all, my pleasure going down there. I'd say, you know, from an outsider perspective, it was a bit outside of my comfort zone, you know. New area, new country, brand new changes to NIRSA. First time really being a representative for NIRSA at an event like this, so it was an original experience for me. But, you know, not to be cliche, but the NIRSA family definitely made me feel right at home right from the start. Kathleen Hatch, Chris Dawe, they got in touch with me well before the conference, got me briefed on the Canada in Motion project, and going into it, I felt relatively informed, you know. So I didn't feel like, you know, Kathleen or Chris or anybody for that matter were going to put me in a situation where success was unlikely. So I felt like I was in a good place, right? And then I think the other thing that took the pressure off was kind of like what Heather said, I was there to learn. I was excited to learn about what Canadian campus recreation was all about. I was excited to learn about how they felt about the project. So, I think that was kind of a relaxing feeling, right? I think, and then going into that type of situation, where you're not super busy and super involved at the conference, it allowed me just to kind of step up as needed and play my part, when I could. So it was great.
That's awesome. Would have loved to have been there, so I'm glad you got to go as an attendee and enjoy it for me and inform the NIRSA students about it. Was there anybody in particular that you really enjoyed connecting with or any fun stories from the conference?
Yes, definitely. I have some shout outs. So my first two go to Heather Foster and David Peters. It's always awesome to be able to connect with the member network rather than just hear each other and talk from a distance. So that was great. Made me feel right at home from the start. The next one would have to go out to Christine and Stacy, and also the board of directors and everybody from NIRSA HQ. Again, just kind of brings that good family feel, and there's so many wonderful people in that organization. It's nice just to pick their brains for a bit. So that was always great. And then I'd have to go to Chris Dawe and also Don Chow. Again, both of these gentlemen, they prepped me well before I got there. And then Don Chow is actually from WSU, and he worked for campus recreation when he was an undergrad here, and actually worked in some of the same facilities I did. So crazy small world there, pretty fun. And then the next one, I got to take the mic off for a second, but this is a shout out to some people in Canada.
Oh gosh.
So I'm actually got a t-shirt from Mount Royal University intramurals. All week, the folks from Mount Royal just made me feel right at home. They kind of adopted me, let me in their car rides, things like that. It was fantastic, honestly. Great group of students, great group of professionals. So thank you for your hospitality, Mount Royal University. If you're listening, I hope you are. And then finally, my last one. You know me, I'm a homer for sure. So big shout out to the legend, the myth, Kathleen Hatch. What a person she is. She was on her way out of WSU when I was just getting in as an undergrad, and I didn't really know much about her, but I could tell that she had quite a big impact on the way this place was shaped. And so every time I saw her, I was just kind of like a little fanboy, like, oh, hi, thanks for everything you did, and stuff like that. So before the conference, we actually got to sit down and have lunch, and she's everything she's cracked up to be. There's no doubt about it. So it was kind of a proud moment and kind of like a little bit of an honor to get to contribute and give back to something that I know she's put a lot of time in and cares about. So that was cool.
Wow, NIRSA members, you saw it here first. Jordan Bishop acceptance speech. What it felt like to me. That was awesome. Rocking the t-shirt too. Very cool. Well, thank you all for the time to be able to share this with me and with NIRSA students. And if you take anything from this, just know that we as NIRSA members, we have the opportunity to vote in bylaw amendment proposals and NIRSA elections coming up in January. So I would strongly encourage you to exercise your right to vote in those. And I think Canada has a really incredible opportunity to increase and engage a lot as a region for our association. So Chris, Heather, Jordan, thank you for the time. Really appreciate it. And with that, peace, love, and NIRSA.
Peace, love, and NIRSA. Thanks, everybody.